The International Day for Menstrual Hygiene is celebrated annually on May 28 to ensure increase in awareness regarding access to menstrual hygiene facilities. It is a chance to highlight the importance of menstrual care and raise awareness about the issues faced by those who don't have access to menstrual products. In Cameroon, menstrual hygiene management still faces a lot of challenges, which hampers sane mental health. In this edition of the program, we shall explore the issues relating to mental health management and what the Venetta Mwengella Foundation has been doing about it. Stay with us. Our guest tonight is a primary care provider, psychiatric mental health provider, and mental first aid instructor. She is the host of Therapeutic Conversations with Ven podcast and the founder and CEO of Prima Healthcare Systems. A dual certified family psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner with expertise in private practice via telemetry. She has a strong educational background in both fields and provides holistic care that addresses physical and mental health concerns. Her practice specializes in bipolar disorder, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, psychotherapy, and medication management. Join me to welcome the founder and CEO of the Venetta Mwengella Foundation, Venetta Mwengella. Once again, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, of course, it's the third time you are here with us after it's been a very long while, and we are indeed very glad to have you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, today we are going to talk about something which touches the lives of all and sundry, and that is menstrual health management. Let's begin with the basics. What is menstruation?
Oh, wow.
How will you describe menstruation?
That's a very important question. I'm going to try not to make it sound so complex. I'm not going to, because if we want to go into the in-depth of what it is, according to all the faces, you know, we would take a whole episode. But menstruation is simply a process where the body kind of sheds off the byproducts of the uterine lining when pregnancy doesn't happen. So the body goes through a process to prepare the uterus for pregnancy, because it's expected that every time a woman ovulates, it should get pregnant. That's the purpose, right? But of course, we can do that every time. We can't get pregnant all the time. So when that doesn't happen, the uterine lining sheds off, and then it has to come out of the system. So that's what it is in basic terms.
Now, what are some of the health issues related to menstruation?
Okay, so for when we look at the health issues, they're twofold. It's like we have physical issues and mental issues. So physical health, and it does affect your physical health and your mental health. Now, when someone is menstruating or they're getting ready to start their period, because like I said, it's a whole cycle. Yeah. So it doesn't just start from just one day you wake up and then boom. It's something that has been happening. You have hormonal changes that happen in the system that kind of instructs the process. For example, at the early stage, from the beginning to the point where pregnancy doesn't happen, of course, there's a different kind of hormone that's going on then, which kind of affects the body in a different way. And then after that phase, when menstruation actually occurs, which is the end of the preparation for pregnancy, it's like, oh, well, it didn't happen. A different hormone takes charge, and starts instructing the process that happens then on. And this particular hormone has different effects on the body. Now, let's go back and look at the physical effects and the mental health effects, okay? While this particular individual, this female of childbearing age, is going through that most people don't know. So first and foremost, you have like a week before your period. It varies with people, but typically the week before, you start having cramps. And this, we call it menstrual cramps. It could vary from mild to moderate to severe. So mild is like, okay, I noticed that, you know, my period is on the way. Severe is like, I can't even get out of bed, I can't even go to work, I can't even go to school. So it's very painful. Some people require medication to help with the pain, just to bear the pain, right? And we also have what we call bloating. You find that you become very bloated. These are physical signs that you can see. At times your skirt or your pants don't even, you feel like, oh my God, I feel very bloated. And that's uncomfortable for any individual. When we go to the mental health side of things, we notice that because of the hormonal changes, the two hormones is the estrogen and progesterone, and this affects neurotransmitters in different ways. So when you're going through these phases, you will notice when somebody is acting very irritable or they're moody, because your moods will swing. Imagine two hormones acting, you know,
at the same time.
Yeah, it's not at the same time, but this one surges while the other one is dropping. So that's the change. And then the other one surges when the other one is dropping. So you notice mood swings, all right? You notice anxiety, you notice depression. Most of the time when you see somebody very irritable, you say, man, are you on your period? You know, people say that all the time, but it's not simple. It is not simple. That's a very serious thing. And we call this thing just premenstrual syndrome. So it's PMS. Some people will just say, I'm PMSing. Don't bother me, I'm PMSing. But that's what it means. So those symptoms that happen before the actual period. And then we do have severe symptoms. So this now gets exaggerated to the point where the depression is very severe, right? The mood swing is like 2, where you look at depression in the bipolar type. Because then one day you're fine or you're moody, and another time you're like up and elated. And so there are 2 poles. So these are the things that we look at. And for so many people, you can have very, very heavy menstruation, which is a very critical medical issue, because you could become anemic. And when you become anemic, you might need blood transfusion. You might become very fatigued easily, just very tired, because your blood is low. Typically, the normal menstrual cycle, a woman should be able to go through that without any problems. But at times, some people bleed for 2 weeks continuously.
Yeah.
So that affects the volume, the blood volume. So that, again, too, is another physical health issue that people face just to get through this process of menstruation. And there are many more other intricate things that happen with the body during that process. But the most important one is the loss of blood and the PMS symptoms, and the premenstrual, where we get to the point where it's very severe, where you're getting a lot of these symptoms, not just mild, but now to the point where you're seeking medical attention, and all the way to the mood swings, anxiety, depression that comes with that. And then, of course, the stigma.
All right, menstruation is very challenging for young girls. What advice will you give to someone who is experiencing it for the first time, or who has attained puberty and could be on the verge of going through the first menstrual cycle? What really goes into the mind of that person, and how should that be approached?
Okay, that's a very important question. And that's something that we've been working on for an extensive period of time. And I would say even before that individual hits puberty, we should start the education way before. So there's an average age where we typically think that menstruation starts at age 12, but we do have a range where you have people who start at 9. So between 9 and 10, 8, 9, 10 should be the area where we're beginning to do this pre-education. And the reason why we shouldn't wait till that individual actually starts menstruating to start talking about it is because it's a very complex process. Yeah. And you don't want to just wake up one day and find yourself bleeding, because it's very, very intense. You're going to get scared. You're like, what is this? Am I dying? Did somebody stab me? Did I get in an accident in my sleep? I don't know. And what is this? And some people run to their mom crying and saying, Mom, this is happening to me. Maybe I'm sick. But if you start the education before that age, you begin to prepare the minds of these individuals. You begin to prepare them and tell them what the process is. Of course, using age-appropriate language. For example, if you start at 8, the way you're going to speak to an 8-year-old is different from the way you're going to speak to a 10-year-old. So you begin to gradually tell them what the process is, that be expecting something like this. This will happen, and this is because you see your body is changing. As your body is changing externally, there are things that are happening internally that are also leading you to prepare you for such a thing as childbirth. And for you to be able to have children, there is a process called menstruation, because that's what it is about. It's just menstruation just happened when pregnancy did not happen, right? So you begin to educate this particular women of childbearing age that, hey, before they get to that point, this is what you need to be expecting. It's uncomfortable. You might have pain. You might have bloat. You might feel bloated. You might even feel irritable because some people wake up and they don't know what's going on. Why am I so easily irritated? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling sad? You know, and you don't know why. But if we start educating you before that, then you begin to understand what to expect. You expect that there's gonna be bleeding, and no, you're not dying. No, nobody hurt you. No, it's not a disease. It's just a natural process that has to happen. And it's something that every woman of childbearing age will go through. People do vary the way they experience it, depending on other hormonal maybe complications or hormonal differences, because we're all not wired the same. Hormonal levels are not the same. So we're going to see a lot of, it's a spectrum, but the average way of presenting will be what we're focusing on. So if you come with the variants, if you come like noticing that mine is different, mine is just 2 days or 3 days, oh, this person over here is like mine is 7 days or these days, or my cycle is just 21 days or 35 days. So we're preparing their minds, telling them that they're expecting it. Even before they start, they will already have products. They'll feel empowered. They are ready for it. They're like, okay, I got this, you know, because I cannot be afraid. I cannot be ashamed. I cannot let anyone, you know, tell me because of the stigma that is surrounding this topic. I feel empowered to speak about it. So I'm not going to hide. It's a process that is normal and it's okay. And everybody around should be understanding and supportive.
Okay, now, in Africa, menstruation is linked to certain taboos. How do these taboos hamper the understanding of effective menstrual hygiene management?
It's very significant. It's very, very significant. Again, like I said previously, the pre-education is important. Imagine in a situation where they treat it as something that is a secret, that is not allowed to talk about, that is dirty. Our culture, certain cultural practices view it as a very filthy thing, as you're not even allowed to participate in certain cultural events, or you cannot touch certain foods. You're not allowed to enter certain places. You're supposed to go be somewhere when you're menstruating until you're done. Imagine if I'm bleeding for 2 weeks. I'm secluded for 2 weeks, right? I'm not part of the community. I'm not part of the culture. I'm not part of the everydayness of things, right? I'm now excluded somewhere. I can't go to school. I can't do anything because I'm bleeding. So that affects your mental health a lot. And the cultural aspect of it, you cannot defy your culture, right? That's perhaps some people even grew up seeing their parents go, the other people of childbearing age go through it, and they feel like it's normal. And for me, I feel like we need to start normalizing the communication. Our cultural practices, we need to understand that this is not a dirty thing. It's a natural process that happens. And it is a process that brings about the most beautiful thing that we're looking for, the baby. If it actually, of course, if conception happens, then we're not going to have the menstruation, but then that is the whole cycle. It's part of that cycle. That is not dirty. That thing that is coming out could have easily been the baby that you're carrying in your hand, if pregnancy had taken place. Okay. So if we start viewing it like that, then we understand that, no, this is not dirty. This is not something that we need to sit quiet about, because it's natural. It is nothing. It has nothing to do with bringing ill luck or whatever the cultural practices are. I mean, there's a lot, especially with different cultures across the world. So people view it differently. But I want everybody to begin to understand that we need to speak up and begin to really understand what it is. If we go down to the biology of menstruation, then we'll be so relaxed. We'll feel like, no, this is okay. We need to be supportive for this particular individual that's going through this.
All right. Another challenge faced by some women is irregular menstruation. You have someone experiencing menstruation maybe this month, next month it skips, or the day do varies. What accounts for this, and how should that person handle it from a mental health perspective?
Okay. So if you do remember at the beginning, I mentioned 2 hormones that are very, very active in the menstrual cycle. Again, it's a cycle because they're phases, and it kind of like is cyclical. So when this one is happening, and then it leads to the next phase. If the pregnancy doesn't happen, then another phase takes on. And then because that phase is building up the whole process, and then ovulation happens, pregnancy doesn't happen, it goes back to that same phase, and just like that. And it is normal to see variance in the length of the cycle. Some people, like I said, their cycle will happen in 21 days, and some people right up to 35 days. So if you fall along that spectrum, typically we're not too concerned in the medical field. We're like, okay, you really fall within that spectrum. Even though the normal textbook cycle, if you want to apply everything, we're looking at 28 days. But again, remember, everybody's different, right? Everybody has a different internal composition. Now, when we go into the irregular way of having your cycle is very irregular, let's say this month or a couple of times you're like 21 days, and then out of nowhere you're now 30 days, and then 35 days. Now there is something going on that we can go further to check, and it always starts with the measurement of the hormones. In the US, for example, where I practice, it's very easy. You go in there and you have an endocrinologist, take a look of all your hormones and see what's going on. We're going to see what is happening, which one is low when it's supposed to be high, which one is high when it's supposed to be low, and we try to strike that balance. Typically, it's done with replacement. So if one has to be replaced, that is replaced, or if one has to be, monitored, it's monitored. So most of the time, we would send you to see a specialist, right? And further, like you said, how does it affect the mental health part of things? When these hormones that inform certain processes, especially the neurotransmitters, at this point we're talking now mental health. So we have the hormone, the neurotransmitter called serotonin. So most of the time when somebody's on an antidepressant, the first line of action when I want to, like if I want to write you a prescription now, I will always start with a serotonin inhibitor. So we call it SSRI. So it inhibits the serotonin to be reabsorbed. So when that medication inhibits the serotonin to be reabsorbed, then it keeps it longer in your brain. So neurotransmitter is a chemical that is in the brain that regulates your mood. So when you're happy-go-lucky, it means your serotonin is there. But when you're depressed, it means it's low. See the difference? So now serotonin, the SSRIs will make your serotonin level to be at optimal, right, based on the dosage. So we kind of take a while for us to get you to your optimal dose. Every patient is different. Now, when that neurotransmitter is down, you see people showing up with depression, and that neurotransmitter is directly connected with the estrogen and progesterone hormones that regulate the menstrual system. So you see how it's connected. So you notice individuals who are very irritable, like I said before, and people are wondering, what's going on? Are you on, this thing that stigmatizes women, or like, oh, are you on your period? And imagine just going through that and somebody's kind of guilt you for it, that you're behaving in such a way because of that. And yes, it's true, but the way it's been said, it's like stigmatizing. And so many women would rather not say anything or be quiet or menstruate in secret because they don't want people to automatically feel like they have to be moody or they have to be acting out of character because of their menstruation. So some people just hide it and they don't talk about it. They just don't even know how to express it. And most of the time it goes on like that.
Now, menstruation in schools is also a very big problem because some advocates say that mental health management should be clearly spelled out in the national policy, particularly in the education sector. How valuable can this be to safe mental hygiene?
Okay, so when we look at this, so we're really trying to put together how people's mental health can be affected if the menstrual hygiene, safe menstrual hygiene practices are not in place. Now, when we take this from a policy level, because everything that we do, at times people might not do it or don't feel the need to do it, but when it is policy, when it's been said that you have to, at that point, people will do it even if they don't believe in it or not, right? Which is why you see certain advocates are advocating for policies that will protect this particular practice. So
especially provision of water.
Exactly. Yeah. So schools, for example, when we're looking at the sanitary environment. For example, do we have appropriate water? Do we have clean water? If I go to the, do we have appropriate latrines, as they call it, toilets? Because if I'm bleeding, for example, and you know, at times your period doesn't announce, you might feel that it's coming, and then boom, even if your cycle is so regular, at times it might happen at night or during the daytime or a day after or a day before. So if it happens, is there a place where I can easily get up and run to without everybody noticing that I'm bleeding? And then will I have appropriate, let's say, products there?
Products, yeah.
Because if I don't have any in my purse, or if I wasn't carrying anything, if I walk into a bathroom, would I even have enough toilet paper to use until I can get home to get the appropriate products that I would normally use? Will I even have that safe space to have that privacy to finish, wash my hands, and get out without anybody really noticing? So in schools, we want to have good toilets. We want to have running water, because that bleeding is bloody.
Yeah.
So if I go where the water is not running and I'm bleeding and maybe I'm trying to clean myself, what do? So I'm stuck in this bathroom till like school is over, and then, or how do I get out of here? Maybe I don't have a phone to call someone who can understand to get me water or something. But if we make these facilities, I think they call it wash facilities, yes, where we have water, we have the sanitation and the hygiene part. And if I don't have the appropriate products to use, I might infect myself. I might use something that is not clean. I might use a rag on the floor, and that's not sanitary, and that's not a way that will promote someone to have a healthy menstruation. You don't want to reinfect yourself just because you have to go through this process. So things like that, if we add it in the policy, for example, if we make every school that is being built for the people who come and do the inspection, the sanitary inspection, to make sure that they have a good toilet system, that water is running, and not just any kind of water, clean water, you know, and that they have products already available in certain places that you can easily just go there and use, you know, things like that. And then you have an appropriate place where you can go into and safely clean up yourself, or prepare yourself to go out again. And maybe if you're in school, or like you said, during the middle of a class, maybe you had to get up and you can come back without anybody noticing, or without you staining yourself or showing up or wanting to just go home because you want to like really go home and you don't feel comfortable. So I believe that if we have policies like that, providing this, and then as well as school incorporating the education of, you know, making people beginning to be aware of the importance, so we can put it in the curriculum. We can tell the instructors to make sure that in your curriculum, depending on which school, depending on what's going on, let's begin to incorporate this in the school curriculum so that we prepare individuals getting towards that time, so that it's also part of a way of policy to influence the educational piece and also the awareness piece, which is the most important piece.
Let's now move on to what the foundation is doing in respect to mental health. First of all, the foundation was launched here in 2021, and
yes,
series of activities have been carried out. What motivated the foundation to embrace mental health this time around? Menstruation this time around.
Okay, so besides the fact that May is the Mental Health Awareness Month,
yeah,
and that this May 28 is also the World Menstrual Health Hygiene, you know,
yes,
Day. There's a lot going on, and as we've been talking subsequently, you've seen how mental health is at the center of all of this this menstruation thing. Besides the biology that has to do with physical health, we see how the hormonal changes affect your mental health, the depression, the anxiety, the stigma, the cultural issues that isolate individuals and make them menstruate with fear and lack of dignity, which is a basic human right. You see what I'm saying? And
yeah,
all of these things, and just because the topic is a taboo, it has a stigma around it. Who is addressing that? Yes, it's okay to provide pads, but again, we don't see the psychosocial effects that the whole menstruation process has, because it's hard to see with the naked eyes. However, you have to be a trained individual or an individual experience it. And most individuals who are experiencing it don't even notice what is going on. But when you're trained, you begin to look for these things. And not only would you raise the awareness to prepare people's minds, but also be there to provide psychosocial support. So the foundation decided to join this coalition of other organizations, and these organizations have different things that they're doing as well, and we're all coming together to support a common cause. And I felt like mental health is in the middle. It's in the core of this movement.
The connecting factor the connecting factor amongst the organizations.
Yes, because we want to address things like the stigma surrounding it, the taboo factor of not talking about it. We want to make it normal. We want to normalize it, and we want to also provide support to those who are, you know, facing period poverty. Like they lack all the necessary things that they need to menstruate, you know, with dignity, and that also affects your mental health significantly. So if I have mood swings, or if I'm depressed, if I have anxiety and fear, all that is mental health. So many people might not see it, or many people might not address that need simply because, oh, you have water, you have pads, but that's beyond that. Who takes care of the mood swings? Who takes care of something like that, that the naked eye cannot really understand?
And if these mood swings are not addressed, they may lead to conflict.
Yes.
Especially from those who don't understand.
Yes. And in relationships, you have so many relationships that suffer because the individual, remember I said in the beginning, we can have what we call PMS. It's like a mild form of, it's just a syndrome, to an actual disorder, which is the PMDD, which is an advanced stage of that PMS. PMS is just a syndrome. Like if you're going through your period, it's just like when you have malaria. So many people can self-diagnose. They're like, oh, I feel my joints are this, I know it's malaria, and they go and get malaria treatment and they're done with it. But this syndrome too comes with menstruation. However, what if you are somebody who is going through the advanced stage of PMDD that you need a professional to really help you through? Your husband might not understand. Your husband might think you're crazy. Your husband might think, like, what's going on? Why is it that I want to talk to her? Is she irritable? You're disrespectful. You know, things like that. And relationships suffer because of that. And if you have a psychologist who can explain to you what's going on, then guess what you do? You'll be like, honey, I understand. You hug that individual versus tell them to, you know, get away from me, right? You tell them, I do understand. Make sure you have everything you need. You know, do you need me to massage your back? Maybe you're cramping. Do you need me to bring you a warm compress? You'll be more supportive. You won't see it as an attack on your status, but you see it as something that I empathize with my person because they're going through this situation, and I want to be there for them and support them through the process. So that changes a lot, and that comes with enough of education. If people are aware, they can now face that in a very different way. You can tell from, and so many relationships will be saved, and people will feel comfortable. Even the person that is going through the menstruation process will also feel very included and feel like loved and supported. You see what I'm saying?
All right. Now, tell us about the Red Charity fundraiser that took place in Yaoundé as part of the menstrual hygiene month and day that will come up on the 28th.
Oh, yeah. So when we decided to come to coalesce and form this stronger movement to fight this menstrual hygiene issue that we're facing globally, let's remember, it's not just in Cameroon. Yeah. It's a global phenomenon, which is why it's World Menstrual Hygiene Day, because they've realized that this is everywhere, right? It might vary in degree depending on what's going on. But we started off, every member brings something to the table based on the level of membership. So there are different levels of membership. So we all come together and put together what we have. However, subsequently, we began to realize that whatever it is that we were bringing together, we saw the need was right. We started off with one camp, and now we're in 3 camps, refugee camps, both internally and externally displaced. So we started with the externally displaced in Nigeria. And we noticed that our resources was not going to take us very far. Initially, we were doing just pads, reusable pads. And then we were like, hey, how about the underwear that has to hold the pad in place? How about soap? How about water, right? How about a bucket? So we decided to pull a kit together. So the next year, we even needed more money to put a kit versus just the pads. So as the needs began to grow, we felt that we have to reach out. We had to reach out to other individuals. Like you said, it's a global thing. We all wanted to give other people opportunity to come in and show their support. So we now decided to do the Red Charity event. This is the third one we're doing in Cameroon. And in April, we had the first one in the US.
Yeah.
So now the coalition has 8 members. So all of these members equally are doing work individually in their various areas. And then whatever we have, we come back and bring it all together to now face that particular cause. So that's how it's working. So the Red Charity event is one way of including the community, including the world. You know, we have people all over the world who are able to be part of this movement, who are able to show their support, who are able to come in and say, you know what, I want to be a red advocate. I want to speak about this, and I want to share the word. I want to support financially. I want to support emotionally, or I want to provide psychosocial support, whatever support, or just materials. We're open to people donating pads directly, if you have it, if people are in a position where they have those things. So that's why we started the Red Charity event. And like what Isane Mokwe said, the goal is to get to the point where everybody is going to be speaking about it and coming up to say, hey, together, let's stand together and make a difference.
All right. Now, you spoke about 3 camps in the north of Cameroon and in Nigeria. Why the particular choice of those camps? Is it that the needs there were very pressing?
So when we started the coalition, it was because of what we noticed in the externally displaced where the externally displaced Cameroonians were displaced externally.
Yeah.
So it started with the crisis, the Anglophone crisis. So when that came, it was a direct impact because I am from Boya. I was born in Boya. Yes, I've been away for 20 years, but that's where I was born. And I am also sympathizing with the Anglophone crisis, right? When this happened, we had our girls move to Nigeria. That's where they displaced into a different country. Now, they're strangers in this land, and then they're facing this need that nobody really understands. And the word came out that they were even using grass or rags. And we all know this is not sanitary. You can get other infections or even disease process as a result of using those things. That's not what you're supposed to use. So we decided to address that. We started there. And then from then on, so because there were Cameroonians there, we felt connected. That could have easily been my sister or my brother in that camp. And we totally said, no, we cannot leave them. They're just using grass. Let's do something. Of course, the other needs are also met by different organizations. However, the Menstrual Hygiene Coalition, we want to focus on providing that particular need that they had, or taking care of that, because it's menstrual to bleed, with dignity is a human right, clearly, and one that is not spoken of widely, which is why we will have a whole day given to that particular phenomenon, so we can talk about it.
Okay, now after the Red Charity fundraiser, are there other events or actions that could be taken before the end of the year, for the year 2024, in that coalition?
Yes. So everything we do is almost like the cycle of the menstrual cycle per se. So we do our events start way before May. Yeah. Way before May. So the partners that form the coalition, our dues are due in way before this, because that's what we used to run the coalition. Yeah. While we now hope that other benevolent minds and other individuals can also support. So it starts way from there. So we now gradually start doing activities. Like I said, every single member can do anything. Let's say, for example, I was talking about I was doing some mental health awareness session somewhere, or I include menstrual hygiene and stuff of that. Whatever I'm doing in my own foundation, I now bring in whatever I have to the coalition, because the duty to raise awareness does not only lie during the Red Charity, it lies across the year. So we begin to do the education. So we have what we call red advocates. So red advocates are people who've decided to advocate for menstrual hygiene. So they go about and do all this education. That is counted because that's the most important piece. Raising awareness, educating people about menstruation and safe practices, right? And then comes the funding part that we also share. We let people from, you know, anywhere in the world support the cause. So we all do things around the year. And once we always want the 28 to meet us at a camp, so that we kind of we bring these products and showcase everything we need to, and also support all of these refugees. They're mostly people in refugee camps that we were looking for, because imagine you had to just get up and run for your life. You don't have anything, talk less of menstrual hygiene products. So we do all of this work around that. So we're doing more during the year because we want to raise awareness, raise funds, because we're trying to get more products and even have a bank where these individuals will be using, not just wait for 28th of May when we show up. Yeah. They will have a place to go to year round. And not only the camps, so if we set up this bank in the camp, and the individuals around you know, who also they can come in and also be served. So it's growing every day. You know, something will always start as a small idea, and then it starts growing, especially with the coalitions such as the Menstrual Hygiene Coalition. We have so many great minds looking into this, and we're always constantly assessing and reassessing to make sure that what we're doing is standing in alignment with whatever it is that we're, you know, even with the Sustainable Development Growth goals, we're also looking at all those things, making sure that it's in alignment with the current need. For once upon a time, there was not such a thing as an Anglophone crisis. We didn't have externally displaced females who were in these places, but now we have them. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what the need will be, but we'll always be there to support and do what we have to do around the year.
Okay, now, from an advocacy perspective, there has been calls over the years, increasing calls for men and boys to join this inclusive mental health awareness, mental health management. How critical is it?
It's very critical because, as we all know, we live in communities. We're not living in isolation. Even girls who go to all girls schools or boys who go to all boys schools, at some point during 20th or 11 February, find themselves mixed with everybody. We always are living together. There's this communal living that's what is part of the human being. That's what we thrive in. So trying to solve a particular concern with excluding a particular gender or a particular group of people is not, I don't think it's sustainable. We need to involve, especially the males, right? Yeah. Because they don't really understand the process. They don't really know what it takes to go through the menstrual cycle. You as an individual is experiencing it. But when we educate them, right, through advocacy and include them in the process. So if we educate more males and include them in the process, guess what? When they understand, it means everybody else is on board. Yes. Everybody else is like, hey, I do understand. Now let's go out there and make sure that these women of childbearing age are actually menstruating with dignity.
All right. Before we go, we know that the Venetta Mwengella Foundation just concluded the third Check-Up from the Makeup campaign in Yaoundé. What is your assessment of it, and what plans does the foundation now has going through the year 2024? Oh,
wow. So this was a very great, great session that I had this Friday. The number of patients who are coming on board is just skyrocketing. And this time around, I didn't leave the hospital till 7:30. Normally, I start from 6:40, we have devotion and we start seeing patients. And I typically leave by 6, you know, typically. But this time around, it was way more than that. We had so many patients wanting to be seen. We even had some who had to leave. They were like, they've been waiting, but unfortunately, we went according to how they came. And unfortunately, if you had something else that you had planned and we had not gotten to you, Some, I think I had 2 or 3 who had to leave. But the numbers, I see number of people coming in, the number is increasing. I had to come in with backup this time, as you saw on the flyer. Before it was just me showing up.
Yeah, sure.
And then I quickly realized that this is getting way, beyond what I normally see. I now got 2 more people on board. So we were in different rooms just seeing patients, including the Baptist Healthcare System staff as well, and the other volunteers who came in to like direct the traffic and stuff like that. But that has been going on well. Again, the reason why I'm always doing the screening is without the screening, we would not know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on, you don't know what to do, right? Yeah. So far, so great. And for the rest of the year, I have decided to partner with the United Pan-Africanist Movement. And the reason I decided to partner with them was because I saw their goal to also do other major work in Africa. And I'm very passionate about what that's happening in Africa. I feel like the need is here. We need a lot of our clinicians. We need a lot of our experts coming into the continent to do a lot of work that's going to help the continent. And that's something I'm passionate about. And we have severe mental health needs across Africa. I decided to start with Cameroon because Cameroon is where I was born. They say charity begins at home. And when I got the opportunity to become also a member of the United Pan-Africanist Movement, I said, why not partner with them and do the work that I'm already doing also in different African countries. So we're looking into other countries to work with other hospitals in other countries, if not have our own hospital.
All right, and of course we shall be following that up right here on Dash TV.
For sure.
Thank you very much, Venetta Mwengella, for coming. It's a pleasure to have you once again. And we shall, of course, be sitting there next time when you come.
Yes, sir. Thank you for always having me, and I appreciate Dash Media for taking the time to do this. And I say this because as we come together, it's not just about the coalition. It's not just about the mental health specialists. It's not just about the doctors and other things, but even the media is part of this call. Because with the media, we can disseminate information in ways that is exponential. So thank you. You all are doing a wonderful job supporting this cause.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you too very much. And to you, televiewers, it was a massive pleasure being with you on this edition of In Depth. Until next time, it's bye-bye.